So I remember getting one of my first cargo cages or bags, whatever this is called, back in, I think it was 2012, called the Everything Bag from Cleveland Mountaineering. I always remember Jeremy Cleveland was kind of ahead of the game, trying to figure out a universal solution for mounting bags to suspension forks. And although it was maybe a heavy solution, it worked and it made our lives easier. And I think that's generally the goal when designing a product. And while we've definitely seen the evolution of mounts on, say, frames and forks, Tailfin has introduced several products that definitely have taken things to the next level, making innovative bike storage solutions that are lightweight and functional. So adding to that, they just launched this thing right here. This is the new fork pack that kind of builds on those principles. All right, let's get into it. The Tailfin Fork Packs have a roll top design that comes in two volumetric sizes, 5 and 10 liters. Both are made from a welded Haplon and PU-coated ripstop nylon, making them fully waterproof when closed properly. So unlike their mini panniers, these use a cross-shaped aluminum mount that bolts to a 3-pack of mounts on forks or elsewhere, or in conjunction with their suspension fork mounts. So the system connects to the mounts using their X-clamp mechanism. It's basically the exact same connection type found on their panniers, but miniaturized with 10mm clamps versus 16mm clamps, which helps keep the bag and the load kind of closer to the bike, helping with maneuverability and weight distribution. So the small X clamp means that this system only works with the included aluminum mount, and it is not compatible with any other racks. That being said, the hardware from the Tailfin panniers will actually fit on these fork bags. So if you want to use them on a regular rack, all you have to do is buy the pannier upper and lower spares, or if you have a pannier, you can just swap them over. The bag also comes with an internal aluminum frame, which definitely helps create a stiff and stable feel. And when mounted, it feels just very flush with the bike. The bags also come with an additional compression strap to help reduce the pack size, but I never used them as I didn't find the need, and I kind of just like the simplicity of the roll top closure. And in Tailfin fashion, the fork packs have fully replaceable hardware, and that proved to be beneficial, which we will get into here shortly. All right, so before we get any further, I just want to let everybody know that this video is supported in part by Surly Bikes. Surly, they make serious steel bikes for people that don't take themselves too seriously. They make bikes that are versatile and durable, that can be dressed up or down for commuting, bike packing, ATVing, gravel grinding, or really whatever you call fun on two wheels. With 15 original dirt-friendly platforms, they offer something that fits just about anyone for any style of riding. So for more on Surly and their steel bike lineup, make sure to click on the card right here or find a link below. Now I try to avoid adding weight to my suspension fork, but occasionally I'm swayed. And I'm usually pleasantly surprised with how well the bike pedals with that weight kind of low and up front. And it was no different with the fork packs. It's worth noting that I mostly carried lightweight stuff up front, although I also packed layers and even my drone, basically stowing everything that would typically be in, say, my handlebar bag in 2 of these 5-liter fork packs up front. It felt great, and it actually kept the bike really well grounded and not too cumbersome. So the fork pack has a weight capacity of 4.5 kilograms, or almost 10 pounds. That's a lot of weight, and more than I would really ever use in this application. I had maybe a pound or 2 in each, and because of this, I used only 2 Tailfin suspension fork mounts I had lying around instead of incorporating all 3 mounts on the aluminum bracket. A good general rule for those is 1.5 kilogram per mount, so I was definitely in the clear as far as weight capacity is concerned. And while you definitely don't need the Tailfin suspension fork mounts, as there might be some cheaper options out there, they've definitely proven to be very trustworthy by a few folks on the team, and I really like how easy they are to install. I also appreciate how you can kind of incorporate the side mounting position on the mounts, keeping the load even closer to the fork legs. As far as the 10-liter pack, I decided to toss those on the back, mounting to an Old Man Mountain Elkhorn rack. I installed the packs using the aluminum mount to attach to the 3 mounts on the rear rack leg. This replaced my seat pack or my dry bag on top of the rack itself, at least for the most part. I ended up throwing my Tyvek sheet, seat pad, and some disc golf frisbees on the top deck of the rear rack. But generally speaking here, I went old school with the pannier style setup with these new Tailfin Fork Packs, and it really simplified the packing process for a recent Moab trip. So the clamps allow you to easily remove the bags from the bike and pack or unpack the belongings in the tent or at camp. When you need to put them back on the bike, you simply just place the little X clamp hooks over the aluminum mounts. There's enough play here where they're loosely installed so that you can still slide the lower mounting point into position before securing the bag with the X clamp lever. In talking about that lever, the actuation is super easy, yet it feels very secure when fully tightened down. All right, so the whole system made me a little cautious during my first descent. I was definitely maybe a little worried something would maybe wiggle free, although it didn't. The load stayed put and felt very secure with zero play or rattling while descending some rugged, ledgy sandstone roads. I quickly gained a lot of confidence in these bags after those first rides and thereafter. So I only tested these bags for a few months, but as with systems that have moving parts, they're more prone to, say, things happening. I ultimately had two issues with this fork pack. The first, well, was not really the bag's fault. My buddy ended up rear-ending me after I suddenly slowed down on a descent when I thought I had a flat tire. We were going pretty fast, maybe, I don't know, 15 miles an hour, and his front tire went straight into the right rear bag, snapping one of the X clamp mounts off the 10-liter bag and completely bending the aluminum mount on the rack stay. Luckily, we had some extra straps to secure it and get back to Moab. It was definitely a bit of a freak accident, but the neat thing is that all of these bits are replaceable, so Tailfin sent some replacements so that I could quickly get back to using the system. So either way, if Dave had hit my derailleur, he would have definitely busted that also. So considering kind of that force, there's rationale for this failure. Chances are that any pannier, hook, or mount would have broken in such a crash. The other issue I noticed was that one of the screws almost fell out of the X-clamp mount on one of the 5-liter bags. So after inspection, I noticed that it didn't have any thread lock on it. However, the X-clamp mount on the mini pannier that I have all came with little thread locks, so this might be just the matter of having a pre-production model of the fork packs. I ended up putting thread lock on all of the screws to just make sure they stay put, and it's worked nicely. The one thing I will tell you is not to over tighten those screws, the silver screws on the X-clamp, because if you do, you won't really be able to get the bag out of the clamp. Obviously, there are a lot of similarities between the Ortlieb fork pack and the Tailfin fork pack, starting with the name itself and how they're both designed to be used on fork legs. However, there are also quite a few differences. For starters, both brands use a welded dry bag, but Ortlieb fork packs are slightly smaller, coming in at 4.1 liters and 5.8 liters. Both bags do come with some sort of mount. Tailfin uses aluminum and Ortlieb went with some composite plastic, and both can be mounted to steel, aluminum, and carbon forks with 3-pack mounts. Both were also designed to work on suspension forks, and while Tailfin's system does require either their suspension fork mounts or another aftermarket mount, the Ortlieb fork pack comes with a solution out of the box, although it is slightly more time consuming. The Tailfin system 5-liter version coming in at 100 USD, and the Ortlieb bags are sold separately at 65 USD for the 4.1 liter version or 130 USD for a pair. The upside to using the Tailfin system is using a similar ecosystem, but either way, both are great solutions to adding capacity to your fork. So by now you've likely seen that Tailfin's goal has been to make simple solutions of carrying cargo on your bike, and their addition of the fork pack is certainly no different. When it comes to Tailfin's products, they really think of every last detail, like the low-profile design, the user-friendly functionality, the stable and secure fit, cross-compatibility among their lineup, size options, and just the overall aesthetics when packed or maybe even unpacked, all while trying to keep the weight to a minimum. And while there is an argument to be made about fewer moving parts, especially when you are out in the middle of nowhere, I've also had a simple strap on a seat pack cut a trip short in the past, so I'll leave that for you to ponder. So as I mentioned, the 5-liter fork packs come in at $100 and $125 for the 5-liter option. But if you need to purchase the suspension fork mounts, well, that cost kind of adds up to another $80. So yeah, you need to keep all that in mind. Tailfin, however, does offer a 5-year warranty for manufacturer defects and a 30% crash replacement program if something does go wrong. What do you all think about the Tailfin Fork Packs? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what you saw in this video and want to see more like it, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and consider joining the Bikepacking Collective. The Collective offers a lot of awesome things, including the twice yearly Bikepacking Journal, monthly giveaways, and much more. So to learn a little bit more about the Bikepacking Collective, click on the card in the top right corner. You could also find a link in the description below. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.